The world of Jim Woodford was confined to a quiet bedroom in North Carolina. The clock on the nightstand ticked with a cold, mechanical precision, mocking the silence of the room. It was exactly 4 in the morning. Jim reached for the small plastic bottle, his hands trembling with the weight of chronic pain. He swallowed the prescribed painkiller, washing it down with a single lukewarm glass of water. It seemed like a routine moment, yet the atmosphere shifted. Within 10 minutes, the rhythm of his life began to falter. His breathing, once steady, slowed to a shallow crawl. Then, it simply stopped. When his family found him, his body was cold, a hollow shell resting on the sheets. The medical report would later confirm the impossible. Jim Woodford was clinically dead. For 11 long hours, his heart did not beat, and his lungs did not pull at the air of this world. Jim did not wake up in the darkness of a grave or the sterile light of a hospital. Instead, he opened his eyes to a brilliance he had never known. He was standing beneath his feet. The grass did not just grow. It shimmered with an internal sacred glow. Every single blade of green pulsed with a soft, rhythmic light, as if the earth itself was breathing. He took a tentative step, expecting the familiar, agonizing crunch of his knees that had plagued him for years. But there was nothing. No pain, no resistance. His body felt weightless, restored by the very air of this place. In the distance, 4 figures began to approach. They moved with a grace that seemed to silence the surrounding air, their robes flowing like liquid light. They did not move their lips, yet Jim heard their voices resonating within his very soul. They spoke with a warmth that bypassed his ears. "You are expected," they told him. They began to guide him across the meadow, leading him toward a boundary where the light met a deepening shadow. As they neared the edge of the vibrant meadow, the peace was shattered by a sound drifting from the dark distance. It was a faint, rhythmic wailing, a chorus of sorrow that chilled his spirit. Jim stopped. The sound was hauntingly familiar, echoing the consequences of a life lived for himself. He turned away, his spirit trembling with a sudden, crushing realization. That was when he saw him. A figure stood directly in his path, radiating an authority that demanded silence. The figure looked at Jim with a gaze of profound, ancient sorrow. It was the look of a father watching a child throw away a precious gift. Then, the voice came, vibrating through the dimensions of his being. "What have you done with the time I gave you?" The question hung in the air, heavy and undeniable. Jim stood in the presence of eternity and realized he was empty-handed. He had spent his life chasing the clouds, yet he had never truly looked up to see the one who made them. He had no defense, no excuses, only the silence of a wasted potential. The figure looked at him one final time, the sorrow replaced by a terrifyingly beautiful purpose. "Go back," the figure commanded. "You have something to say." The transition was violent. Jim gasped, his chest heaving as the weight of mortality crashed back onto his soul. He was in his bed, his heart hammering against his ribs like a trapped bird. The 11 hours of death were over. That very morning he went to the hospital, but his healing had already begun in a way medicine couldn't explain. He took the remaining pills, the symbols of his old life, and flushed them away. He sat his wife down, and for hours, the man who had been silent for years poured out his heart. He didn't just want to live. He had a mission. He began to write, his pen fueled by the light of the meadow and the weight of that one singular question. He knew his time was no longer his own. For the rest of his years, Jim Woodford traveled the world. He stood before massive crowds, no longer the man lost in the clouds, but a witness to the eternal. He would grip the podium, his voice steady and filled with an unnatural conviction. "There is more than this," he would tell them, his eyes searching the room. "Your body is the smallest part of you." He would lean forward, bridging the gap between the stage and the soul. "The choices you make, the people you choose to love, the enemies you decide to forgive, and how you spend the precious hours of your days, these things do not vanish. They echo forever." He would stop then, letting the silence settle over the audience like a heavy mist. His final words were always the same, a gentle but firm invitation to the living. "Come home," he would say softly. "Come home before you have to."